Welcome back. It is me, Anthony Standifer. We are in another episode of Driving the Business, Beauty Brands and Entrepreneurship with me. I'm excited to have you here. So let's start. Have you ever wondered why, like, some moisturizers that you buy at the store cost $15 where others may cost you $65? And so the answer to that question is not always as easy as it seems. But in today's episode, I want to help unpack how contract manufacturers like myself and others come up with the pricing that we ultimately give to our customers who are then going to go on to sell to other beauty retailers. It's all about demystifying the process because I think there are some misconceptions around what we as manufacturers use in order to determine pricing. And it might give you a bit of an insight as a founder or potential beauty brand founder and how and what to expect when working with a contract manufacturer. So, okay, let's get into the details right away.
Business. Driving. Driving. Driving the business.
Anthony Standifer here, and you are driving the business. And so who am I? I am Anthony Standifer. I am one of two co-founders of MC Group. We're a contract manufacturing facility here in the south suburbs of Chicago. We formulate and manufacture beauty products for hundreds of customers. And so across the last 11 years, we've supported 250 or so entrepreneurs that were either in the early phases or the startup phases of their business. And for the last 26 years, I've been in the trenches inside of the beauty space as a behind the scenes kind of guy, whether it was as a product manager for some of the biggest multinational companies in the world, or for the past 11 years as the co-owner of a manufacturing facility. So when I talk about like the nuances of what it means to come up with pricing, I've got a little bit of background, a little bit of experience that I want to share with you. So there are four major components that go into providing pricing as a contract manufacturer to a customer that I'm supporting. The first part of that is the raw materials or the actual formulation. So it's the stuff that goes in the bottles or the jars that I have to then determine what the pricing to produce is. In order to do that, you're going to have worked with a chemist, either on my team or some other team, to come up with a formulation that makes sense to you. But the raw materials for your formula is going to be an amalgamation of a number of things: the base of the formula, the stabilizers that keep things together, the preservative system that's used to make sure that it doesn't grow mold or yeast over time. All of those things are going to be needed in order for me to determine what is the price for me to fill a single unit of your formula. And so that is step one in our overall process. As a part of this, we got to recognize that not all formulas are created equal. And so just like if you buy a car, if you're buying one brand on the economy side, it's priced more accessibly as opposed to buying more luxury or premium price. Well, the same thing applies to formulations. When you're looking at ingredients and the things that you want in terms of a product, cost has to play a major factor in that. And I'll give a tiny example. Let's say you're looking at an oil and you're trying to determine what you want to deliver in terms of an oil format. So avocado oil, I know for a fact, is substantially more expensive than soybean oil. Now, both are going to be moisturizers that can be used in a hair care, skin care, or personal care product, but the pricing of avocado oil, way high in comparison to that of soybean oil. And so as you're looking and working with your contract manufacturer, it's going to be extremely important that you have direction in terms of what you want your end cost to be. Because in determining what your end cost will be, I can then put together a formulation that's going to be accessible and affordable to you, but it matters what you're selling it for. So a $15 formulation is going to be drastically different in my world than a $65 formulation in terms of what you intend to sell to your end customer. The other piece that formulates and that impacts this overall process of your formula is how much are you buying? Now, I'm in a unique position as the owner of MC Group where we formulate and we manufacture at small scale. Not a lot of places will do that. And so I'll make 500 units of something, 1,000 units of something, whereas in many environments, you'll find that the minimum order quantity is substantially higher. But you got to recognize that if I'm buying for 500 units, the cost per piece of what you will pay for your final product is going to be substantially higher than if you're buying 50,000 of that same something. And so keep that in mind as you're going out and developing your products and the formulas that you want. What is your starting point, and then where do you intend to go? Oftentimes you won't know the end goal, but you'll definitely know, like, I feel comfortable selling 1,000 units across a 3-month period. And if that's the place that you need to start, then you can budget and plan your business around that. But I, as a contract manufacturer, am going to be looking at, like, how do I price for you of what goes inside of the lovely bottle or jar that you're going to be using for your unique product. So the second part of this as a manufacturer and pricing for you as a potential customer in the beauty industry is your packaging. So what are you going to put this formulation in? You've got a number of options. You can do jars, you can do bottles, you can do tubes, all sorts of things come into play, but it's up to you as a beauty brand founder to determine, what do you want your final delivery system to be? And so in doing so, you work with my team or a team at a manufacturing facility to determine, like, what is the best, most accessible format. Now, this is going to go back to, how many units do you intend to buy from me? If you're buying 500 units, your options become one set of variables. If you're buying 15,000 units, then you may get a different set of variables just based on quantity. So it is so important, and I'm going to continue to hammer this point, that you know from the onset about how many units you want to purchase when you're talking to a manufacturer about launching your beauty products in the marketplace. And what can you reasonably afford? And so packaging goes into that. So there's going to be a jar, there's going to be a lid. You then have to think about how to decorate that packaging. So is this going to be a label that wraps around this jar or wraps around this bottle? Are you looking to screen print? Like, screen printing is always an option, but just know that if you're screen printing something, there is a substantial minimum order quantity in order for a screen printer to come in and screen against your packaging. So you may have to buy 5,000 units or 10,000 units in order to start with screening. Whereas the minimum quantities on labels is going to be substantially lower. So all of these are things that have to happen in partnership with your collaboration with your contract manufacturer in the beauty space. The other variable to consider is, you've got a bottle or a jar. Do you want an outer carton? And so in many instances, particularly if you're in certain segments, it's imperative that you have an outer carton that your bottle or jar goes into. And so you've got to factor the cost of printing and producing that custom outer packaging for your specific brand. And it's another cost variable that you'll have to consider as you're working with your manufacturer to put together a complete package for your unique product or brand. All right, so now we move into the third area that is key in determining your pricing from a contract manufacturer, and that is the compounding and filling of your formula. Now, this is the place that gets really interesting, because typically when I work with particularly brands that are do-it-yourself and that are factoring and are currently formulating in their home or in some sort of outside facility themselves, it's the one thing that is a variance or nuance. And so here's what happens. Like, you then decide you need 5,000 units of something. Well, I have to take raw materials, put them into tanks like the ones that are behind me, blend them together, heat them, cool them, do the things that are necessary in order to create your unique formula. And so that process is called compounding. And so within my facility, I have to factor that in as a cost, because there are people that are managing this that I have to pay. And so in doing so, I will factor in how much time is it going to take to blend or compound however many pounds is necessary to complete your order. The second part of that is then the filling. So now I've blended all these things up into tanks. I've now got to fill it and factor in the cost that it's going to take for people to either manually fill or automatically fill through fillers to get your product into its designated packaging format. And so all of that has to be factored into the cost. And then on top of that, I got to pay people and make a little bit of profit on top of that. And so all of those areas are the places that then come into play when I start talking about the cost of making your product. Now, from manufacturer to manufacturer, people think, oh, people are marking up my packaging, people are marking up my raw materials, and that may or may not be the case, but there's not a ton of money to be made in marking up. And as a manufacturer, I have to be transparent about the cost cost that it takes for me to procure the different materials that you're going to need. But the place where I have to be transparent is that in compounding and filling, I've got to pay people and factor into that equation a reasonable markup in order for me to then make profit inside of my business. And so, in the same way that you're making profit inside of your business selling to customers, I have to do the same thing as a manufacturer. And that's where I come up within the pricing that's necessary for compounding and filling of a beauty brand product. Now, I recognize that there are some efficiencies in this production process at scale. If I am filling 500 units of something, then I'm likely not going to use a big tank and a big automated filler. I'll use a small kettle and people to then manually fill and produce the units that you need for 500 units. Now, the moment you tell me you need 25,000 units of that same something, I've got to take a decidedly different process. And then the process that is needed in order to do that larger quantity, then the variables change and the pricing becomes very, very different. Ultimately, you as a brand founder just will recognize that on a price per piece basis, the cost to produce 500 units is going to be higher than it is to produce 15,000 units of that same something. And the variables that we're managing on the manufacturing side is saying, how can we be as efficient as possible across raw materials, across packaging, and across the compounding and filling of something to provide you with the absolute best costs so that you can go out and mark it up and make the money that you need and hopefully circle back with new orders from there. Now, the fourth and final piece of the pricing is going to be then the shipping and logistics of getting this product to you in bulk. And so we'll have to then factor in, if you've bought 2,500 units, I've put them into boxes, shipper cartons, bulk pack them, and put them on a pallet. And now I am responsible for shipping to you your 2,500 units. Well, guess what? 2,500 units is not going to go to the post office. In most instances, if I'm shipping on pallets, that is considered a freight shipment, and it is most efficient and the cheapest for you for me to put that on a pallet and send it on a truck to whatever warehouse or storage unit or 3PL provider that you have designated to receive those goods. But just know that you have to, as a brand, factor in the transportation costs from my facility to wherever it is that you need to have it sent. Most manufacturers are not going to pick and pack on your behalf. So the thing to recognize is that most contract manufacturers are not going to pick and pack on your behalf. And so I'm not in the business of saying, Susan Johnson has ordered 4 of these products in Idaho. Let me go ahead and box it, ship it. Like, that's not the business that I'm in. But what I am in is, you need 2,500 units, I will ship it to you, and then you will coordinate the logistics either yourself or with ever 3PL or third-party logistics provider that you can find to then do that work for you, and that will come at a cost to you. But my job is to give you the cost of what it's going to take to ship your items in bulk from my facility to yours. Okay, so that's all the instruction and all of the things and the 4 components that go into pricing as a manufacturer. Now let's make this really, really practical. What can you do and how can you take this information and apply it to your interactions with a contract manufacturer? Step 1 is be really clear on what you want. It's so often that people come in with such a big, broad slate that it makes it very difficult for us to service them as potential customers in our environment. You should know the type of product that you're looking for. You should know the type of benefits that you want it to have. So I'm looking for a clean beauty brand that's going to provide this specific function. I'm looking to address these specific problems. I believe that I'll retail this product for X amount of dollars. In doing so, if I get the ideal price, I'd like to buy either 500 or 1,000 units as a starting point for that. This kind of direction as a potential customer makes you so attractive and so easy to work with in an environment like mine. But if you're coming in and probing, it is very clear and evident that you're just like, give me pricing. Well, guess what? I'm a contract manufacturer. I make custom products and custom products for beauty brands. So there is no tub of conditioner sitting behind me that I'm just going to pump out into every bottle that comes down the production line and then change the label out per brand. That's not the environment that I'm in. That's called private label manufacturing. And in this area where you're doing custom development, it's your job as a brand founder to understand the end direction that you'd like. And it's my job as a partner to co-navigate that landscape with you. I'd rather you have a list of 25 things and me come to you and say, hey, of these 25 things, I could probably deliver 19 of them to you. But these other six are just things that I can't do for the following reasons, whether it be price, whether it be the logistics and my capabilities as a manufacturer or anything. But if I can deliver these 19 things to you, are you able to go to market and still have a successful launch? And if the answer becomes yes, then it gives you a great opportunity to then get into the market with your own formula, with your own brand, and really make the magic happen. And so be mindful as you're then engaging with folks to do your homework ahead of time and be really practical in the fact that this is going to be a collaboration. And I cannot stress that enough. It is a collaboration. Unless you're coming in with a check for several $1,000,000, then you can drive the ship how you want. But if that's not the case, then be prepared to work. Because guess what? Even with the $1,000,000 brands and having worked in corporate America for big multinational companies, I still collaborated with the manufacturers that I worked with at the time. So collaboration is going to happen at any scale. Yes, you have more leverage if you're a big customer, but just understand that regardless, you're going to go back and forth. But you having clear direction from the onset makes the process go so much easier and so much faster to begin with. In doing something, don't get caught up in all of the like nuanced details. Yes, the details will matter, but the guiding light for you as a brand founder is what is your ultimate profitability goal. And I will preach this until the day I turn blue in the face. And that is that you must be working with 50 to 60% gross margin when you're selling directly to your consumers as a baseline minimum. Like the idea of buying something for $6 and selling it for $8 is a failing business. And I don't care what anybody says. This idea of, oh, I need this to be affordable to consumers and to customers, I believe is a misnomer. We live in a world where prices are rising. People will pay for what they see value in. And your job as a brand is to communicate your value that the price becomes a nominal consideration in the overall purchasing decision. Now, that requires a level of skill because the easy thing to do is to just be cheap and affordable. But what is harder and absolutely a necessity for small beauty brand founders is to have profitability because that is the engine and the gasoline that will fuel your overall business. And so 50 to 60%, that is the floor. If you're doing anything below that, let's have a whole separate conversation because I got news for you. It's going to be really, really difficult for you to sustain yourself over time. But so make that your guiding factor. Yes, the other details will matter. Yes, there's tons of things that you can fixate and obsess about and make sure are up to standard. But that profitability goal should be at the lead of that list. All right, so those are the elements that go into play when we're talking about pricing. Working with a manufacturer to develop your beauty brand or your beauty brand products is an intimate collaboration, and there's 4 key elements that are going to go into determining what your pricing is going to be. That's going to include the raw materials and the formulation that's necessary. You'll know based on all of the factors and variables whether you're getting the Rolls Royce of formulations or if you're getting a more economical, efficient formulation. Number 2 is going to be the packaging. What are you putting this in? Is it a bottle? Is it a jar? Is it plastic? Is it glass? What does that look like? Is there outer packaging that goes along with it? Number 3 is then going to be the compounding and the filling, or in my instance, the labor that's associated with producing your product. It is a necessary expense. And as a manufacturer, I'll be explicit with you to say, this is the cost that's necessary in order for me to produce X number of units for you. And then the 4th and final piece that you've got to factor in is the shipping and logistics to get the products from me to you in bulk, recognizing that I am not going to pick, pack, and ship individual units, but instead I will produce in bulk and ship to you or any other facility that you designate. But you've got to factor in that cost in terms of your overall cost of goods for your beauty brand or your beauty product. So lots of information there, right? It can be a little bit overwhelming, but guess what? You can do hard things and you're smart and you're capable. And this is not something that is rocket science, but once you know it and it's ingrained in your foundation, you can manage the variables very, very easy. As a founder or somebody that's thinking about launching a brand, knowledge is your leverage. And the more that you obtain, whether you're in the early days, middle days, or if you've been in business now for years and are still now going back to relearn these elements, know that it is important and imperative that you upskill yourself on a constant, regular basis. And any manufacturer that you're working with is not out here to gouge you or take advantage of you. Yes, there are some players and some folks that are going to be not on the up and up. But if you've got a baseline of knowledge and information, you can quickly determine that, hey, this is looking a little shady, this is looking a little out of line, or this is somebody who's trying to collaborate with me and is just trying to manage these variables, and you've got enough information to say, well, let's talk a little bit more about like how much of the packaging is impacting the cost of this. Are there some variables that we can use to bring down this cost of goods some? Those are the kinds of conversations that we welcome and that we anticipate as manufacturers working with beauty brand founders. And it's the kind of thing that you can step into with a level of confidence that you don't need to know everything. But as long as you've got a grounding on what is true and certain and how you're managing your business to get those 50 to 60% gross margins, then that's the place where you're going to win. And as a brand founder, it is an incredible journey to find yourself evolving and getting pieces of information over time that make you more and more confident that you're in a space where you're driving a business that's delivering profitability and meeting consumer needs. And I just can't describe it. It is one of the most amazing things that you can do for yourself, is to give yourself the opportunity to know and expand in this incredible business. And so I'm hoping this information was of value and that there's pieces and parts of this that you can take away and use. If you're a founder or somebody that's out there and you're looking to understand more, I would love to hear your questions or comments. And so make sure wherever you're at that you comment on this thing. Email me, DM me, get on the social medias, respond on the platform that you're looking at, because that's where your true learning is going to happen, is in your engagement with the information that's been presented to you. And if you find yourself as a founder who's like wrestling with pricing questions and just really all tangled up, like, welcome. Welcome to the playing field. We have all been there, and it is a space that I'd be happy to leverage my expertise and experience to help support you. I don't claim to know everything, but in the spaces of places that I do know, I'm absolutely willing to share. And so that's the whole purpose of this podcast, and the information that's being provided here is to demystify and to uncover some of what may look like a mystery or an unknown set of variables, is to provide you with the information that you need. My name is Anthony Standifer. Again, it is an honor and a privilege for me to be in front of you right now sharing this information. This has been Driving the Business, Beauty Brands and Entrepreneurship. This episode comes as a result of a new format that we're doing with our podcast in terms of both a visual and an audio element. It is produced in collaboration with Roots Recording. I've also got the JJ effect on the audio. And so there's an entire team of people that are helping to pull this together. Because one thing I do know is that as a brand founder, it is not my job to do everything. And I'm going to sit in the space that I operate best in. And so if you've gotten value out of anything that you've heard today, please go ahead and leave a 5-star rating, whether that be Apple Podcasts or any of the other platforms where you see this lovely episode. You can also follow me on social media. Somewhere on the screen, there will be information that talks about how to connect with me and how to reach out to me. There's also going to be an email that shows up in this space. Please, I love outreach and I love answering questions. And so reach out to me. Let's talk and collaborate and see how we can get you unstuck or moving faster in your entrepreneurial journey. Again, thanks so much for the time. Anthony Standifer here. I'm out. Remember, regardless of where you are and what you're doing, stay in motion and keep driving the business. I'm out.